Welcome back to the I Did It First podcast. I'm Anna.
And I'm Riley.
And I just want to say I'm feeling much better. It has been a long 6 weeks of recovery, but getting back to working out and feeling so much better. Honestly, I did an implant exchange and it turned out to be more difficult than I thought, and that was probably my fault because I wasn't super clear on how maybe sick I was, and that made it really rough for me. If it wasn't for that, everything else went fine, but then the recovery, I mean, you saw me. It was so tough.
You look good, though.
I feel so much better. I feel like age appropriate, which is probably the one area I'm age appropriate.
She's not built like an AirPod anymore. I always would say this because she'd just be tiny and then she'd have this like shell.
It was hard not to tip over.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was
constantly
or even
like
running,
rounding, like trying not to get two black eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling so much better. I mean, working out too. Yeah. I mean, even just that, even if it's always hard taking a break from exercise. And then when you go back, I mean, it's hard when you take a weekend off, right?
Yes.
And then you go back into it. And I mean, it's been
6 weeks is a long time.
It may as well have been forever.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was
but it
begging
just goes
for mercy
to show
today.
how much even working out is for your mental
health.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been smiling like this all day just because I went and I just
all
feel
those good
endorphins and I love it.
Yes.
Well, and you're there when I get there. So I love that part.
I love seeing you.
What's new with you?
Honestly, I've just been so overwhelmed with work and school. And I feel like I am crashing out. And I'm just almost at this tipping point where I pray for the people that are around me when I do have this episode, because I am going to probably not be very nice. And I pray to God for patience. Instead, I get opportunities to be patient. I keep reminding myself of that. So I really try to stay patient and take a beat and go touch grass before I have a moment.
I think it's your schedule's just too.
It's my schedule. Also, listener, I am on the Nexplanon, which is the birth control implant in your arm. And I was bleeding for a long time after I got it, to where my doctor was like, okay, this is not normal. We should put you on another birth control on top of the arm implant to see if it'll help regulate that. I mean, it did, but granted, I was on so many hormones and now I'm coming off of them. So I think that has something to do with it too. So
we must have been a joy to be around the last few weeks.
Oh, I'm sure.
Between your hormones and me trying to get better now looking back.
Phenomenon. Which kind of brings us into.
Yeah. So something that we talk about all the time, because I think, well, I see it a lot, but it's something that I deal with. And I think in more recent years, you've called out a lot.
Yeah.
And I would say I have most of my life been pretty fiercely independent. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that was amazing. And I think it is amazing. Mm-hmm. I will see other women, other friends, and I always kind of celebrate that. But the truth is it's a trauma response, I think, from
hyper independence. Yes.
Yeah. From past relationships, or it could be even people in your life. It could be a parent. It could be just this kind of repetition of being let down that gives you the fine, I'll do it attitude. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of twist that a little bit and turn that into, I'm super independent. And it's like, I don't need anybody. And then actually it was another friend that would tell me this, that you need to ask for help more. And I'm like, that's not going to happen.
Yes.
So, but you've been really good about calling this out. And then it kind of brought this conversation up that comes to being, traditionally feminine and masculine roles. But I think where you've brought it up to me so many times, and it's weird because I feel like I know I get defensive because after being that way so long, I feel like, well, what are you saying? Like, I felt like this is a positive thing, or like you'll say, oh, just let dad help you with that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no.
You take that as an attack.
I do.
And I think that the reason so many women are hyper independent today, it's because of this imbalance of femininity and masculinity. And that's kind of, we also just want to preface this by saying we're
Don't come
not
for me.
bashing men or women. These are just, it's based on our experience and interactions and stories that other people have shared with us and same feelings that people share with
Right.
us. And that's what we are drawing light to.
Yeah, I think it's, like I said, it's a lot of friends I even know that are like this. And I think it's difficult to dial that back. And while I think you're trying to do it different, there's two common themes, I think, with so many things we talk about, is that you're the preventative and I'm the corrective. Like I'm constantly trying to fix something I've already done while you're trying to do it better, which is this constant dynamic. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But where it comes to this, it's okay. So I asked Riley and I said, what does that mean for you? To me, I know I have traditional thoughts about that, but I don't think that necessarily has to be it. Like, we talked about, men in that space, whether it's like women's roles in the home, and these are things that I'd get frustrated over.
Yes.
Like whether it's fixing something and I'll do it. And it's like just giving the opportunity to let that happen is actually super hard.
Yes. I think the characteristics of femininity and masculinity are very positive, and I think that the two have to coexist. And you can't have qualities of each, but overall, femininity is typically characterized by that nurturing and caring behavior, where masculinity is characterized by that assertiveness,
right,
in leadership and strength, and not just physically but mentally, and overall just being independent and being able to lead your partner, specifically your female, and in a way that she can literally turn her brain off and trust you,
right,
and submit to you in that. And I think overall, masculinity is something that has to be earned, and femininity is something that has to be protected and preserved.
right.
Like, everyone wants a feminine woman, everyone wants a masculine man, but it's like, how do you get there?
Right. Well, in real life, because I think it's easy to look at someone else. I use that kind of example just with the femininity, like we talked about. Okay, just very basic surface stuff, right? Like a woman taking care of her, getting her hair done. Like I'll always say, like, I feel better when my hair is done or my nails. I talk with my hands all day long. Like my nails, especially for me, like it's just one of those things.
Right now, so don't.
I know. I'm like sitting on them.
Keep my Lego hands.
But which is great, and I think when you're not in a relationship, people appreciate that. But then when you are, it also becomes a financial aspect too. And then that's where you lose some of that femininity, because it's no longer about, well, wait, I liked this about you. Because it's like that part of it's almost taken out. So how do you keep that is my question when, well, you are doing it already, but to try and preserve even that aspect of it once you're in the relationship.
Yeah. I've learned through experience, and this is something that I'm lucky that I have learned younger. And honestly, I see you do things where I'm like, why is she like not asking dad for help or not letting him, because you almost take it as an attack, or on the other hand, then I see dad do things where I'm like, why can't you just do it right the first time? Like when mom, I see both sides. And throughout the years and throughout relationships, in previous relationships, I've honestly been the boyfriend. So it's really cool that I get to be the girlfriend this time, and I get to actually be in my feminine energy. And one thing that I think is really important is to set those standards and those boundaries from the get-go, because you have to set your partner up for success, and one person's maximum is another person's minimum. Like what some person's not willing to do for you, someone will think is literally the bare minimum.
Right.
So if you set someone up and lead them to success, then I think that's also where you can achieve this balance of femininity and masculinity. And one way that I do that, and I try and practice as much as possible in my relationship now, is just respecting the individuality of my boyfriend.
Right.
And that is a two-way street. I also treat him in a way that I want to be treated and that I expect to be treated. And
I mean, you've done a good job. Like he does like his cornhole league, let's say.
Yeah.
But those are things I think that it's keeping those things, you know, because you forfeit a lot of those things when you start dating someone.
Yes.
And so that's also where that gets lost.
And I literally told myself
and
before,
I know I've done it. That's why.
And everyone does it because it's just this exciting, oh my gosh, I'm dating this new person. And when you start to sacrifice those things that fill your bucket and bring you joy is when you dismiss other behaviors. Like you're almost being like, no, I'm not important.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's really that's when I went into this relationship. Even on our first date, he asked to pick me up at a certain time. And I told him, you can come pick me up at this time because I'm going to work out. And I just wanted to set that tone right out of the gate and be like, you know what? No, these are things I'm still doing. That way, when I'm still doing them months and years and however long into the relationship, it's not suddenly shocking and being like, why are you all of a sudden, you know,
right.
How it has been with other people. And that's the biggest lesson.
Well, it is, because what happens to when you forfeit those things, and granted, again, like let's just say it's the working out. That's one of those things that he really liked about you even before he met you. Like, oh, this is how she, you know, stays in shape. And like it was those things, that those feminine attributes that contributed. So when you peel them back, what happens? You also start to build resentments.
Yes.
And this is something that I talked to you about, because those will build and they fester.
Yes.
And you know, you kind of fall into those. This is where my experience, you don't really say anything because it just kind of goes on. And then you kind of fall into like traditional roles. Like I use this example, I talked about it recently, where, you know, I do all the laundry, and that's fine because I'm particular about laundry, which is, I love it. I don't love it, but I'm learning to love it. But sometimes Dad will grab it and just dump it on the bed and walk away.
Which is so
and
rude.
I want to lose my shit, but you guys are home, so I'm like, just keep it chill. But that to me is very nonverbal, like you do it. Like this is your job. And like to me that takes away, that's not a feminine role that's positive.
No.
Right? That's not something that will contribute or make me feel good in my relationship.
No, not at all. I think.
And the same is for him. Like I expect him to do certain things, and I'm sure he's not happy about that. And I just trying to put up a mirror, you know, and maybe that's why that will lag, because it's like he feels like, well, why would I should be just expected to do this? And I think this goes back to what you were saying about, you know, honor other things first, and then maybe those things will come.
Yes. Which kind of is the next point of just encouraging these roles that you want to be in. Like one thing I do as much as possible, instead of, and I'll just use the example of like opening a car door.
Yeah.
If my boyfriend was not opening my car door, instead of being like, you never open my car door, I would encourage it and be like, oh my gosh, you know what? I like it literally makes my day when you open my car door, because they feed off that. And that's such a positive interaction, because he's gonna be like, you know what? No. And then he relates opening my door to making me happy. And so he correlates the two, and he's like, oh, it's a small thing I can do.
Yeah.
And then it's also not like I'm nitpicking and I'm not suddenly, because they won't even, they'll hang their hat on what you said versus the overall like concept.
Right.
So instead now you're just this bitch, and you're not. You just want to feel like you are in your feminine energy. But that's also where you have to submit a little and not be like, fine, I'll do it myself. And that's the hardest part, because you have to take ego out of it.
Right. And I've had a really hard time with that, but I have tried to validate, like I get the coffee notes every day.
That's huge.
And I think that's huge. And I always say what a big deal that is. And, you know, that's part of like another aspect we talked about with this, and this is directly associated with the coffee notes, is like the intimacy part. And we talked about being feminine, masculine, and when it comes to intimacy. And I think most men are in that masculine role, it's like taking charge, taking command, like slamming her up against the wall, like that moment, right? Where I think for women, I mean, it's all day. It starts literally with that coffee note.
Foreplay starts well before the
Like
bedroom.
way before.
Like when you're already trying. I'm sorry, if you're not a leader outside of the bedroom and then you're trying, it's just so phony and it's just not attractive. And I'm gonna dry up like nobody's business, and it's just not cute.
No, and that's a big deal. I mean, if that's where that feeling safe and protected comes into play, because then by the time. You know,
yeah,
you might be the one to slam.
You're throwing him up against the wall. Yeah, you don't know. It's literally going. Yeah, the encouragement of roles is a really big one, and for women, I think women also need to be acknowledged for what they are doing, because I personally have been the girlfriend that is doing wifey things.
Yeah.
And then I have to be like, okay, bitch.
Yeah.
Pull in a little. But here's the thing. I don't mind doing it for the right person. That's also taking on the masculine roles. That's treating me well and providing me with a safe space and nurturing me and letting me turn off my brain when I'm around them. And I think of, with my ex-boyfriend, he who shall not be named. I would help him like grocery shop while he was at work, and I would like play these, and I literally did not mind, because when he was treating me well, he was treating me well. Granted, too, side note, when he was treating, like, the lows were really low, the highs were really high.
The bar was down here, guys. Like,
no, it was whatever. But I had no problem doing those things, because at the time it was a safe and nurturing space. However, he did not. It was almost expected, and I'll do it if it's a two-way street and if it's going both ways. The second I did something wrong, he'd be like, chat clip that, because he would clock that so fucking fast. I made him homemade mac and cheese, and granted, the amount of meals I could make him were limited because he had a beige food palette, and he was very picky. I mean, he didn't like chocolate, didn't like coffee. I mean, there was a lot he did not like.
That's right.
Which also should have been my first red flag.
Yeah, it was not a carnival red flag. It was a red flag.
But I made him mac and cheese. And, I mean, I spent a very long time, like, shredding the 3 cheeses and then letting it bake. And then, I mean, this very long process. And I was like, okay, work. I'm wifey. He takes a bite and he's like, this is not good. Bitch, it's fucking carbs and cheese. Like, there's really no such thing as bad mac and cheese.
No.
Like, even if it's bad, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I'm like,
wait,
take it to the back of your throat and swallow it like the rest of us, bitch. Yeah. Like, you're fine.
Was he thinking just Kraft is the shit? That's where it's at? Is that like a powder? Is that more his preference?
Yeah.
You know what's funny, though? You just reminded me. I think the way he associated masculine, like, because I remember when he told us he was like, this is very, very early on, like very
we were
early.
Not even officially dating. Yeah.
No, and he came into the kitchen and he told us he was tracking you, but like with this confidence of like, I know where she's at all times. I'm gonna watch her, and I'm like, this sounds horrible. Like, but it was, you would have not known that.
He's crazy.
He could not read the room because I was mortified. Dad was mortified. And he was just really on his soapbox. Like, as long as I know where she is, that's all that matters. And I'm like,
so weird.
Stalker anyone?
Stalker. But also the time I was like,
but that's what he thought.
My man.
I know. Yes. Yeah. Fucking Riley. But that's the thing. That was a role, I think, that, and I guess, you know, I mean, that was not necessarily positive, but that's what he thought being masculine was.
And that's the thing. Yeah. So I think it's really important to protect masculine and feminine energy, is that encouragement of the roles of both.
Right.
And letting,
but like how they complement each other.
Yes.
Controlling isn't one of them, but like you can make someone feel safe and protected without.
Or as a woman, do those things because you want to, not because you're like, I did that, you know, not because you're trying to sweat your boyfriend or your husband or your partner or whatever.
Because I think compared to that example of the tracking, which again was not great, having someone who's protective and like sticks up for you, whether it's with their friends or they have a friend that, like, I had a situation a long time ago where someone was hitting on me and it was the best friend. And all I wanted to see was him stick up for me.
Yeah.
And instead it actually went horribly wrong, and he was mad at me.
Oh my gosh.
And that's an area where I felt like, okay, here's your chance. Be that guy.
Like, show up.
Here's
a perfect opportunity.
This is like a panty dropping moment. Like, you do this goes so far, and it went completely wrong.
And that's like that intimacy where it happens before, because I remember too, similar story, but on the opposite end, I was dating Toothless at the time, and listener, Toothless was my high school boyfriend that I reconnected with in my 20s, and he's referred to as Toothless because ring-a-ling-a-ling,
literally
he
showed up
teeth.
He shows up back up on the scene,
and not because he played
teeth.
hockey or anything, no, because he played 1v1 against the concrete after falling off a Lime scooter. So I'm good. My picker is on. But his friends were talking about me, and we were all drunk at the time. And his friends were talking about me in front of him in like a way that made me feel uncomfortable, but my words held no weight, especially in a room full of men. And I was just so uncomfortable and just shocked with the whole situation. I was like, what is going on? And he shut it down so fucking quick, and he's like, do not ever fucking talk about her ever again. If I hear like her name come out of your mouth in a way that is not appropriate, like, I will fucking punch you. In a way that I was like, that is so hot. That is so hot.
See, that's good. Toothless. Oh my gosh. Side note, how many times did I have to like edit his teeth back in?
It's
so that I
so bad. My mom and his mom would edit. I'm like, can we just let it be what it is?
No, come on. It's all you could see in photos. But anyway, but that moment and that act, I think, was like a really positive way to kind of show up, and that kind of that masculine term we're talking about, where it's that is how he shows up, and then that's how he protects you.
Yes.
And that feminine part.
Yes,
like,
and that's
like,
where he's a leader. Yes. So I think there are a couple opportunities and ways to help a man feel masculine and help a woman feel feminine.
Right.
And I think if you want a masculine man and you want someone who's a leader, something as simple as, like, if he asks you what you want to eat, letting him pick and letting him in that
you're good with
dose
this.
Take initiative. I am good with this. And it's something like, I'm not one of those girls. This is what pisses me off. And you do this. She's like, yeah, I'm down for anything. And then my dad's like, okay, In-N-Out. In-N-Out's a very broad example. Relax, sit down. And she'll like, no. I'm like, bitch, fucking pick. Like, or he'll be like, oh, I don't know anything. And you're like, no. My boyfriend will ask me what I want to eat, and I said, honestly, you pick. He picks, I say yes. We go out to eat. I'm like, honestly, I trust you. You order. It's fucking food. Shit's going down like a fat kid on a seesaw either way. Okay. Yeah. Like, you're gonna get fed. I'm gonna be happy. My attitude's gonna be changed either way. You ask men and give them opportunities to help you, and accept the help as long as it's.
But in my defense, in this circumstance,
here we go.
You know where you're going to eat every time.
Here's the thing, though. Even when Dad like recommends these weird places, eventually we try them, and
they're pretty good.
Yeah. So, Dad, clip that. But you have to, when you ask for help, accept it. And I know in past relationships, I've personally become more masculine in those relationships because I don't ask for help because I feel like it's just half-assed. And even if you feel like it's half-assed, you have to find an appropriate time to bring it up. Don't bring it up in the heat of the moment. You kind of have to like sandwich it in between a compliment, or you just have to read the room.
Right.
Don't do it when things are tense or when you guys are in a fight and be like, and you never do. Like, don't, because that's going to go over like a turd in a punch bowl. That's not going to work.
I think it's hard to undo. I think that's the biggest thing. Trying to move forward is always the best option, and it's easy for you like starting fresh. I think and I'll be honest, it's really like you set your mind, this is how I'm going to do things different.
Yes.
And granted, you still have to make a conscious effort
Yes.
to do that. I'm not taking away from that. But trying to undo behaviors is really hard, because by this point, they're not all, trying to affirm just positive role behaviors is really hard.
It is hard, but that's also where you need to have a serious talk with your partner, and you have to agree that you want to fix this imbalance. And that's even with my boyfriend. He knows I'm very independent, because in every other aspect I am a boss bitch, but I want to just be like baby girl.
Baby girl. I'm just a girl.
And he'll always tell me, like, I know you can do it, but let me help you. Because that's also very positive, right? That's like, no, you're more than capable. It's not like I feel like you can't. It's just, let me help and be a leader and take that away from you. Like, it's literally, you're a girl. Like, you're just a girl.
I know.
Like, you don't have to worry about that. And you want to look at your man, your boyfriend, your husband as this big protector, and give them opportunities to lead without that dominance and insecurity and everything. Like, give them opportunities to do so.
Yeah. I think that's, and for myself, it's important to, like, not emotionally and mentally castrate them. Like,
yes.
Just because I think that that's just the way I think a lot of women have just continued to act. I think, like we said, out of kind of necessity or trauma.
Yes. And I think, on the other hand, to help women be in their feminine energy, you have to let her be emotional without ignoring her or acting like she's overacting, overreacting.
Let her be in that space.
Like, just let her feel how she's feeling. Now, if she, like, goes and throws all your shit, feel how you feel, but how you react is a separate deal.
Right.
If she's, like, going on this crazy spiral, like, let her just feel in that moment and process it. And sometimes women don't always need a response. I just need you to sit there and just help me feel heard. I don't need a solution. I really don't. Because even in an emotional state of mind, acting on it is not going to be productive.
Right.
And when she is emotional, first of all, that's a good sign, because she feels vulnerable enough to do so. But also, again, if you're in a fight or anything, don't bring that up. And you're always crying. Like, no, that's weak. That's small dick energy.
Well, and I think the same goes for the masculine energy. Allow him to be vulnerable.
Emotionally mature. Allow him to be emotionally mature. Let him feel those things too.
As well.
And, like, he should.
And without perceiving that as, like, oh, soft.
Weakness.
Or right. Because I think that that's
like,
much harder.
It is much harder.
For them.
I've had so many men in my life I know, like, will start crying and be like, I'm sorry, like, I don't want to come off as a pussy. And it's like, bro, what? How are the two? First of all, vaginas are so tough. They give birth.
Like, hello.
They literally take a beating. And
keep on going. But
but that's the truth. And overall confidence and trust come from showing up for your partners in ways that they expect, and when you say you will. And confidence is something that's instilled in us when we do and show up for ourselves, when we make promises to ourselves. You're going to overall be confident if you're showing up for yourself.
Right.
And you have to set those boundaries from the start. Or even if you're in a relationship and you want it to take a different course and you want it to look different, do something and be proactive in making it different.
I think even just starting small, like we said, like even the restaurant thing, it's like,
that's huge. That goes a long way.
Yeah, does go a long way. And I think that, this is most like we want to at least set that in motion. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, the goal, and to not make sure we don't deviate into, like, what could be, I guess, toxic femininity or masculinity.
And you have to consciously think of these things.
Yeah.
Hashtag role play. You have to be in that feminine role and you have to be in that masculine role, and the two have to coexist and they have to support one another. And that is overall really important. And that's something that I try to be really aware of, and especially in this relationship because it is fairly new. And that's just the tone I want to set for the overall relationship.
I think why I think it's been so different like I always talk about our generation gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of those things that we're seeing, or that you know, like you communicate and I can see that are important. I think I was taught to believe we're almost self-indulgent, and not seeing how me being true to me or giving myself what I need could help someone else.
Yes.
It was always viewed out as in some way how it was bad.
Yeah.
Or how, you don't need to do that. You need to contribute in this way.
Yeah.
And I there's like, I always talk about, there's like a million reasons why I think your generation is just like,
So ahead of the game.
so ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And this is just another way.
Really, truthfully is.
Yeah.
But we would love to hear from you guys on the insight that you have and just overall feedback. And it is important to us because I know within our close circles, it's something that we've talked about, which is why we wanted to bring attention to it on the podcast. So our Instagram is at I Did It First Pod. You can also find us on YouTube. But it is something that we value is your input. So please feel free to reach out with stories and even experiences and ways that you've tried to implement habits to help create more masculine energy and feminine energy in your life.
Or even how you've struggled with it.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's just as important.
It's just as important. Well, thank you guys so much for listening.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Riley. And this is the I Did It First podcast.
See you soon.
Bye.